Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are going to be expanding upon our portfolio website. We're going to be adding a amazing gallery to it, so you can upload photos to the gallery, to the CMS. These photos are going to be using next image. We're going to do the whole blur up placeholder thing, which is really cool for the remote images, and we're going to statically generate that page too. So that is going to be really cool. But before we do that, what I want to do is just update our Next.js. So in case you don't know how to do this, I'm going to do npm install next at latest, like so. If you look at the moment, we have 10.2, and this should go to 11.1, I think, right now, when we do this update. So yeah, 11.0.1, we've got some vulnerabilities here apparently, so we can try doing Npm Audit Fix. I've got this on a few projects where it can't fix them and we need to update dependencies manually. We're not going to go and do that, so yeah, it seems to have removed a couple of them. So let's just have a look at what it's saying. So remark parse, MDX, next MDX remote. Yeah, so I'm not going to worry about those right now. But you can go in and update these dependencies if you want to. So where are we at? If I do npm install Tailwindcss at, is that a list as well? Let's just do Tailwindcss, and that should. We're on 2.2.4. Mode is just in time. Okay, so that looks like it is good to go. So then let's just run our dev server and make sure everything still works. And that will unlock the newest features in Next, such as the image, blur, fallback mode. So let's reload this and make sure we're still working. So I'm going to be expanding on this portfolio and going through quite a few things. So build page, couldn't find files, and build manifest. Let's try that again. Sometimes helps, sometimes doesn't. If we go in here, so just our images. Okay, perfect. So we are console logging from the index page. Let me just stop doing that because we don't need that. We're done with this. What we could do as well is update our ESLint for the new Next.js. Let's see, Next.js, ESLint. Because I think what we can do is we already have Next.js. If you need to include custom, it's highly recommended that ESLint Next is extended last after the other configurations. So if we just take this, we don't want those brackets. Sorry, just my phone. Okay. And then let's see if that actually works. Because Next is shipping with ESLint now kind of built in. So we don't have an about page. We have our portfolio, we've got our blog. And then let's just see if any of these are throwing errors at the moment. So it doesn't appear to be, which is good. Okay, so let's get going with our image gallery. So the first thing I'm going to do in GraphCMS, we've got our authors, portfolios, and posts. So what we need to do, we do a new model, say in our schema, let's add a model, and I'm just going to call it gallery, like so. Maybe I just call it photo. Let me do photos. So let's create this model. So what I want to do for this, I want to do a single text field. So we'll just call it title, like this. So we just want to make it required. And then we're going to add a asset picker, and we'll call this photo. And again, it's required. We don't really want multiple assets. We just want to upload one image per sort of post. And then what we could do, depending on how much information you want to show on the front end, you might want to do some information. Did we do this in Markdown? I think we did. So there's no Markdown here. There's a blog Markdown. Because what we could do, where's our guest tag props? Yeah, so we could do the same thing where we take that content. Actually, let's just do multi-line text. So we'll just call this, description. It's not going to be required, and I don't really want more than 250 characters. There's not really a specific reason to do that. I'm just showing you how you would do it. And finally, we can do a taking a date. Let's just call it date. That's fine. And that one is going to be required. And then we are done creating our schema for that model. So what we would need to do next is add the content, and we can add the items here. So we've got title, description, date. And then for this example, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to unsplash.com, and I'm just going to take a few photos. So let's download a few photos. So let's save that. Let's save this. And I want to do, let's do like 5 photos. I'm trying to get some ones of different shapes, photos wise. So that looks like 4, and then it's a different shape as well. Cool. So we've got those 5 photos. Let's add them. So let's see what we got. Can we do this? No. So add existing photo. Yeah, so these photos are the ones we've already got on our CMS. So let's choose upload, drag and drop. Cool, that's what we want. Perfect. So these photos are going to be quite large. So it's great that we're going to be using Next image for that. So I don't know, white earring, fashionized photo with white earring, and let's say that was taken June 1st. Okay, July the 1st. We can save, publish, and create another, and publish the asset at the same time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do all 5 of these, and then I will turn the recording back on. Alright, so I have uploaded the 5 photos, and now we are going to pull them into our website. So let's go and make a new query. So we want the photos model like this. That's really annoying. Photos. And then let's take the ID. Oh, I don't do commas. What am I doing? The date. Let's take the title, the description, and then we want the actual photo itself, and then we're going to take the ID, the height, the width, and what else? The URL. And that should be good for the photos. Now when we run that query, they are ordered, so the 1st of July, 14th of July, so they're not really ordered at all. So we can do with GraphQL, if we add some parentheses here, we do order by, and then choose date descending. So that's the date field that's actually in our content model, like so. And then you can see the first one we've got is the most recent, 14th of July, 1st of July, 24th of June, 1st of June, and then this one back in May. So that is looking good. So if we take this query now, we can add it into our data here. So what I just want to do, let's just take one of these queries and copy it down like so. In the query now, we can paste this query. Let's just format that. So get photos. It doesn't take in a slug. We don't need that. So query photos order by. We don't need variables. We're just going to pass in the query like so. And then we should be able to pull these into our front end. So on pages, if we just make a new file and call it gallery.js, and let's just do export default function gallery like so, and then we just want to return. I have no idea what we've got as far as wrappers or anything goes. Do we have anything, or did we just do it? Yeah, so let's just do, where's our header? Do we have that in our app? Yes, we've got our header and footer already, so actually we're good to just, if we just take this div here, just to save me copying over styles. So we take the outermost div, and we'll keep those styles here. This is the gallery. So now we should be able to go to /gallery. Perfect. And then what we can do, we can add another link for /gallery and gallery there. Okay, perfect. Now we've got our gallery. So this is the gallery. Awesome. So what we want to do is let's just take this. Actually, that's going to be at the wrong level. So let's take this one. So we want to import get photos. And then let's do export const get static props like so. And then we can do, if we just call this get photos like so, let's make this async, and then we can do const photos equals awaits get photos, and then of course we need to return our props, and we can return photos like so, and then let's console log out these photos. And then if we refresh, we have our photos. Perfect. So we've got our photos. Now, the way that I want to do it, so what we could very much just do is bring in our photos like this, and then map through those photos and display them on the front end using a next image. But what I actually want to do is use blur placeholders. So what it does is it makes sure that before your image is loading, like if you look at the size of these images here, you can see we've got, 4 megabytes, 3 megabytes. And of course, next image is, going to optimize that somewhat automatically. However, they might still be a few hundred kilobytes. So on a slower internet connection, we don't just want a blank space. So what we're going to do is we're going to show a blur up placeholder. And we're going to do it by using placeholder, this package here. So if we look at the docs for this, let me show you the examples. So do the demo. You can see here, this is what it will look like. So I'm doing multiple images like this. I mean, they've already loaded now. But yeah, this is what it will look like before the image appears. And I think it's really cool. And it should be on every image gallery. Now, Next.js provides that functionality out the box for local images now. So if we look at next image, you can see placeholder where you have a local image, as in you put it in your public folder and then you're loading it into your website. You can literally just declare placeholder equals blur and it will blur it for you. You don't need to do anything else. When you're working with remote images, that won't work. So this package, what it's going to do, obviously at build time, when we run this getStaticProps function, it is going to do this in advance for us and generate a blur data URL. And that is what we're going to do now. So let me just double check. So we've got an array of photos here. So photos equals where I get photos. So let me just do photo response, and then we can do like photos equals photo response dot photos like that. And of course we could just do this. And then we're going to make a function that essentially it will use this package for every image that we have. So let's install that package. So we do npm install placeholder like so. And then we can import placeholder from here, and it's actually get placeholder like this. So what we want to do now is call this function get placeholder on every single photo. So we're going to make a function to do that. So let's just do const blur images, and we'll make this function like so. And then this is going to take in those photos. So let's call that function here. So if we do blur, actually, this is going to be an async function. So if we do, what do we want to do? Const blurred, stick to photos, equals await, and then we'll call this function, and then this needs to be async, and then this will go away because of blur images like so. So then what do we want to do? So we're going to take in this array of photos, which, as you can see, it's got our photo object. So what we want to do is pass the URL to this getPlaceholder function. You can see here I did this on my own website a couple of days ago, and just used the base64 example. And if you look at it for a single image, you can see like if you're having one image, you will literally call the function which gives you back the base64 string and then your image URL, and you can pass this into next image with the props like this. So we're going to do it slightly differently to this. So what I want to do, what do I want to do? So we want to do a map. So I want to map through all of the photos because we're not doing a single, we're doing multiple. So I'm going to do photos.map, and then I will just call this like image, like this. And then for each image, we want to do the base 64, and then let me call this image, and then pull off image like this equals get placeholder, and then we want to pass into this, I believe, so this image. So for each iteration of the map, we want to call this get placeholder function, which, as you saw here, it's going to take the URL and then a size. So I want to give it the image dot photo here. If you look at the console log, I'm pulling out this image, which is this whole object, and then I want to do the image dot photo dot URL, and then if I just do size of 10, just the same as before, and then from our map, what I want to do is return the image and the base 64 information, which is our URL. Now this is not going to work because this map is going to return our promise, but I just want to check that we're working so far. So if I console log those blurred photos, I'm not sure that's the best name for it, to be totally honest. Can I read property map of undefined? So I'm not actually passing in photos. Let's try again. So blurred photos is undefined. Blur images, it's asynchronous, taking out photos, we're doing photos dot map. So for each image, we're calling this function the image dot photo dot URL. So let me just console log image dot photo, and let's just make sure that is image dot photo dot URL. Yeah, so that should be right. Image dot photo dot URL. So this is the URL for each image. Yeah, so that is working. So let's move the console log down here, and then let's try and console log the base 64. So that is undefined. Base 64 and image. Get placeholder. Takes the URL and a size. Why is this not working? Bear with me, I just need to pick up this phone call. Okay, I am back. This phone is really annoying today. So, we're getting undefined, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, so this needs to be asynchronous. So we need to await this. We can't use await because this map function is not asynchronous yet. So now we can do this, and hopefully that's what we need. Yay. So this is our image base 64 URL thingamajig. Now, from this blurred photos, what I want to do, I am returning that. So let's console log the blurred photos. And we're getting undefined on those. So this map, it should be returning an array. So I think what we need to do, because this is also a promise. So if we do like const, what do we have? Images equals await promise.all, and then we can bring this down like this. Let's format that. And then we can return those images. Perfect. So we have now the array with an object. It's got the source, width, height, and basically the image data, but we also need to include the ID, description, and so on. So that's coming from this image object here. So if we say ID is going to be, I think, image.id, description. Actually, let me just double check that, because I'm not feeling too confident. So let me just console log photos here. So that's the blurred photos coming back there. Yeah, ID, title, description, date. Yeah, okay. So we've got ID is going to be image.id. Description is going to be image.description. The date is going to be image.date. And if we get rid of this, format that, refresh, and then let's just see what we've got now. So, okay, perfect. Now we've got there, we've got all that information. So basically, this get placeholder, it is all we're doing is using this to get this data string, so we can pass it into our image component. So we're returning photos here, but what we want to return, and they're not really blurred photos, are they? Const, I don't know, processed, whatever. We'll leave it at blurred photos. So we'll just do blurred photos, because that's now including everything we need to display the images on the front end. So if we do blurred photos here, and then if we console log those blurred photos, we should have that on the front end, like so. So we can see we've got an array of 5 objects with the same information as you would expect, and they're in the right order. So the next thing to do, let's import image from, why is that doing that? Next image, I want US keyboard. It's really weird because on the US keyboard you don't have a pound sign, and obviously I'm from England, so I need a pound sign whenever I'm doing work. I often need to type a pound sign. So for probably about a year I was copying and pasting the pound sign from Google. But yeah, I've set my keyboards up so I can switch between when I need a pound sign now. So we've got our image component in here now. So instead of saying this is the gallery, let's say blurred photos.map, and then for each photo like this, I don't want to do, what's going on? And then for each photo like this, I just want to return, let's just do the image component, and then we do source is going to be photo.src. So let's see if that is actually displaying anything. No, because we need our width equals photo.width. Then we got height equals photo.height, and now that should be what we need to display images, because we already have GraphCMS in our next config. We should have a key, yes, that's why I brought in the IDs. I will worry about that in a second. Okay, so it looks like we've got something here. that isn't loading. Yeah, so we have an empty image. Could not load the image. Why couldn't you load the image? Photo source. Okay, here we go. Now it's loaded the image. Okay, perfect. So we're loading the images just really slowly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do the width and height. I'm just going to divide it by 3, and that should help with our performance a little bit. Instead of trying to load the full image, we'll load one that is 3 times smaller. And if we just look at network, those are cached images. Let's do a full reload. Yeah. So you can see we've got WebP images that are about not too big anyway, 150 kilobytes. So not too bad, not too bad. Okay, so now what we want to do is actually get these to blur. So what we do is we do placeholder equals blur, and then we can do the blur data URL, and we're going to pass that the photo dot base 64. Format that, and if we refresh, then you can see the blur up first. So that is good. It will look different slightly different in production as well. Those images are cached, so you can see it's loading really quickly. If I do a full refresh, and they're pretty small images, to be fair, now that we're using Next image. Okay, and then what I want to do, can we just do it here? So we do a grid calls 3, something like that. And then we can set the object fit cover just on next image. On the grid, let's set a gap of 3, like so. And what we could do is, because we don't really want the images to preserve their size, I want them to fit nicely. So I have 2 columns like that. That is looking good. Yeah, perfect. So I'm pretty happy with how that is looking. You can see the blur effect there just for a second. But of course, when you deploy this and your users are doing it on a slower internet connection, then this is gonna work great. I would just call out that the only reason that this is really a possibility is because it's happening at build time. You know, we couldn't, if you're using, if you're doing your data fetching client side, or if you're using server side rendering, you wouldn't want to do this on every data fetch. You wouldn't want to, yeah, you would not want to do this. Your load time would be huge, and it would really impact your, you know, first contentful paint, or your FCP and LCP, your largest contentful paint. You wouldn't want to do this, but because this is happening within get static props, and it's happening at build time, then it's absolutely fine to do it. So we have our gallery built, and the functionality is pretty nice because you can go into your CMS and you can add photos as you go. One thing that I would note is if you're adding photos to this, then of course you don't want to rebuild your website every time. So you can return also revalidate from get static props, and you can just pass in a certain time here. So we can do, you know, what calculator. So maybe we want to do it every hour. So 60 times 60, 3600. So that's 60 seconds times the 60 minutes in an hour. So if we give that 3600 like this, what that means is when you do deploy your website, you upload a photo onto the back end, you know, within an hour it will appear on your live website. You don't have to rebuild or anything like that. You know, one of the cool things about GraphCMS is you can also set up webhooks to so within your Vercel dashboard, you can create a build webhook, and then you can pass this into here on, let's say, uploading a photo, you want to rebuild your website. But yeah, it's much easier to just do the incremental regeneration like so. So this gallery, you can style it however you want. You know, you can make the grid as cool as you want. Excuse me, maybe you don't need to grid at all. You know, go and play with it. I'm trying to keep it relatively simple, and the video is quite short, so hopefully you can see where you could take this. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a good introduction to Next Image and the new functionality that it offers with the blur of the image. And again, we did a bit more data fetching and things like that. Hopefully the logic here makes sense. I know that it's quite complex where we look at the async await stuff and the promise all. I know there's a lot of people that might confuse, but essentially from our map, this is returning promises. So we're gonna catch all those promises in this images right here. So hopefully that makes sense. And of course, we're calling our photos from the GraphCMS API. You know, we're just taking the actual photos from the response, and then we're passing them to this function. And you know, we're basically just calling a function and returning a new object with all the previous information and this base 64 data URL that it's generating for us, which is this right here. So I hope that makes sense to you, and then this should be fairly straightforward, where you are mapping through the blurred photos, the object that we have passed to the front end here, and just displaying an image based on that. So there you have it, a little bit of an expansion to our portfolio. What I would like to do as a continuation, where we have our blog, is to add maybe categories, filtering, some form of pagination, and we could do the same thing to our gallery. You know, how do we want to make this bigger and better? You know, do we really want to just have a wall of photos, or do we want to have infinite scroll? Do we want to paginate? And we can really be creative with that. So look out for the next video, and we're going to add that functionality. So filtering these down, pagination, and potentially infinite loading. But we'll have a look and see what's going to be the best use case. So if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.